The earlier models of the Fw-190 fell in great favor with the Luftwaffe's pilots, but there were certain characteristics that kept it from outright replacing the Bf-109. One of these unfavorable characteristics was lackluster high-altitude performance. By the time Allied bomber raids became a common occurrence over German-occupied territory, the Luftwaffe was in dire need of high-altitude interceptors. The Fw-190D was intended to fill in this niche. The biggest change that came with this new model of the Fw-190 was stepping away from what made Kurt Tank's stellar design noticeable by Germany's Ministry of Aviation in the first place. With the D model, the radial engine was swapped for the V-12 inline Junkers Jumo 213A. The nose and the tail of the aircraft were lengthened to give the plane proper weight balancing for the new power plant, giving the plane its nickname, Langnasendora, or Long-Nosed Dora. The D model went through several mechanical changes as of the implementation of the new engine, culminating in the D13. However, shortly after the time the D13s rolled out and received favorable opinion by test pilots, the Doras were mainly relegated to ground attack missions by German high command. Very few Doras ever actually flew in their intended role, and while it was a great design in its own right, boasting excellent high-speed handling and powerful weaponry, it rarely ever got to see its full potential. Kurt Tank created a design similar to the Dora in many respects, the TA-152, as a high-altitude bomber killer as well, but it arrived too late, like many late-war German machines. Nazi Germany surrendered to the Allied powers in May of 1945, 5 months after the TA-152 ever reached frontline units. The question, what if, has been asked quite often amongst military historians as to whether or not a faster implementation of the Dora would have brought a slightly different outcome to the war in Europe. Hi, my name is Greg, and in this video, I'm going to give an overview of the Fw-190D13 in War Thunder. The Fw-190D13 is a premium plane available for purchase with the so-called Dora Pack from the online store. It's a single-seated, single-engined, inline-engine fighter that resides in Era 4. While a premium plane, the D13 is really nothing more than an extension of the D12 model, available for purchase as part of the regular progression system at Era 4 as well, with the D9 coming right before it. Each improvement of the Dora features little more than performance upgrades. As of the release tree, the D11 is slated to finish off the 190 Dora lineup at some point in the future. A quick look at the stats of the D13 might keep some pilots from getting near it. Its climb rate is good amongst its peers, and so is its top speed and altitude range, but other than that, it doesn't seem particularly outstanding. But what makes the Fw-190 stand out lies beyond the stat card. What makes it stand out is its energy retention, stability at high speeds, and powerful nose weaponry, all good boom and zoom characteristics. Boom and zoom is a relatively simple philosophy to follow, and the Dora excels at it. The basic idea behind boom and zoom is to alternate altitude with speed. Generally, the higher the altitude, the more speed capable of being gained. This of course assumes that there is enough room to perform a dive in the first place, as the Dora, like all planes, is still influenced by clipping, and what will result does not require a detailed explanation. Any fighter can perform this relatively simple maneuver, but only a small number of them particularly excel at it. Not only is the Dora capable of reaching blisteringly fast speeds, its control surfaces don't lock up at those speeds like other aircraft either. The plane's roll rate and the ability to make adjustments allows the pilot to get the perfect shot, and anyone who is on the receiving end of the Dora's vicious cannon armament will be hard-pressed to get away unharmed. The Dora's powerful engine allows the pilot to gain altitude once again in a sharp zoom climb following an attack. It's easy to get frustrated with the Dora's capabilities when on the receiving end of it, but the plane still has some severe weaknesses. By specializing purely in energy fighting capabilities, the Dora sacrifices a few things that inexperienced pilots may overlook. A high wing loading keeps the 190 from making sharp turns in comparison to its peers, like the Yak-9 and A6M5. Although it's entirely possible to make hard turns because of the high speeds the Dora can reach, it's not a good idea in most scenarios. Turning bleeds speed, and the 190 takes a large amount to make a sharp turn. If a 190 doesn't have either speed to make a fast climb, or altitude to make a fast dive, it's a sitting duck. When fighting defensively with the 190, it's better to be in a position where defensive fighting isn't necessary at all. However, if all else fails, there are some tactics a 190 pilot can adopt to avoid getting blasted out of the sky. If at high altitude, a pilot getting jumped can make use of the plane's good roll rate to perform a sharp split S, hit the deck, and outrun the aggressor. But at low altitude, this can be a difficult venture. In such a predicament, the 190 can level off and fly to safety for a more favorable engagement. If all else fails, the pilot can force a frontal attack, as the Dora's armament can compete with just about anything. Faster opponents at low altitude will also find it hard to keep up with the Dora's roll rate, and as such, a flat scissors may not be a bad option either. The Fw-190D13 is the king of boom and zoom tactics. Its ability to reach blistering speeds and actually maneuver at those speeds allows the Dora pilot to make short and sweet attacks on unsuspecting targets. Combined with excellent energy retention, the pilot can set up a perch and stay there, avoiding conflicts that would leave the aircraft in an undesirable situation. Its engine also has no issues operating at high altitude, giving it free reign over every range of engagement in the sky. However, this fighting philosophy requires the pilot to remain disciplined. A 190 pilot should always be in possession of speed or altitude, and should not engage without either of those two things. Turn fighting is not this plane's strong suit, and should only be done when it has enough energy to do so, or when there are no opponents in the immediate vicinity. In many cases, it's wise to simply escape unfavorable engagements, rather than prolong an inevitable loss. Climb, climb, climb some more, and make good use of this aircraft's devastating firepower, excellent high-speed characteristics, and good energy retention to dictate the terms of engagement. Thanks for watching. Join me next week when I'll be going over the Wellington series of bombers.